All right, everybody, thank you for joining us. Coach is going to begin with a brief opening statement. After that, we'll take questions. Raise your hand as usual, protocol here. And Coach.
We're excited to have an opportunity to play Rutgers and Coach Schiano. I know that this has been a rival game for the two universities for a long period of time. I know the community is going to be excited to get back into the Dome, and we can't wait to have our 12th man back with us. It's going to be an exciting game. It's going to be a physical game. We're looking forward to it. On the topic of
I remember it like yesterday. I was at the board, on the board drawing. We're game planning third down for Cal. And it was one of the assistants outside came in and said a small commuter plane just flew into one of the towers. I said, oh, man, everybody. And then, then whatever it was, minutes later, they came back as no commuter plane. And then as everybody, it was a scramble. You know, we had coaches who had family members and wives that were working in the city. We had some players. We actually had two players whose moms were supposed to be in the towers that day, and thank God they weren't. But it was really surreal, and the only thing I knew to do, I was a very young head coach, right? It was my first year, was rally the guys in here. So we got all the players together, and just told them, you know, this is what's happening. I can't tell you, I don't know any more than you do, but we're just going to stick together here. They wanted to be together, and you know that was a good thing. And I knew we weren't going to play, so there was no reason to. But they wanted to go out and just run around, get ants out of their pants. And I'll never forget, it was eerie. From our practice field, you could see the smoke on the horizon. And then everything that ensued afterward, obviously. But, you know, so many people that we all knew who lost their lives on 9/11. So certainly 20 years later, there's, you know, we don't forget them. And, you know, we're going to be doing something for a tribute to 9/11 as a team. You know, going up to I think it's appropriate too, playing a New York team, New Jersey and New York, right? The people that are around it the most. So.
It's Tidell.
Yep.
Hey, how are you doing?
Doing great, Chris. What's going on with you?
Nothing much. Talk about Rob Ambrose. You know, what type of coach is he? Because he seems like he's been there longer than I've been there, you know, covering the team, and he seems like he's got him on track. And when I talked to him a couple of weeks ago, he learned a lot about the last year when he was off.
Yep. You know, Rob's record speaks for itself. He took his team to the national championship games, had it in the playoffs, you know, numerous years. He has built that program from basically a Division II program. And when he took over a couple of years into being 1AA, he took it and put his fingerprints and blueprints all over everything. You know, his football teams, when they've been good, have been tailback oriented, downhill running, a physical, strong, big offensive line, and a swarming defense. Showed up again last week against Morgan State. I know he's taking more active part in what he's doing. I've always been impressed with the way that Towson has played football down there since Rob took over.
And if I can follow up, crowd noise on Saturday night. You haven't had anybody in the stands for a very, very long time. So what's the excitement for you seeing everybody back there?
You know, it'll be great to have our students back, you know, and we're looking forward to it. It's a night game at 6:00. I think everybody in the area, everybody in the university, and everybody in the state is looking forward to having an opportunity to come watch a good football game. More importantly, enjoy the tailgating, enjoy the experience of college football. You just look across the board, you know, if you're going to follow it. And unfortunately, I got to watch some football last weekend after we played on Thursday. Those crowds and the excitement those people brought to it, pretty cool thing. So I hope, knock on wood, everybody shows up, everybody does it. Our students come out in full force.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm here with Tom Luginbill, who does really good stuff for ESPN. This weekend, he's going down to Knoxville for the Pittsburgh and Tennessee game. So, Tom, thanks for joining us. First of all, last week you were in Oklahoma for the Tulane game. How was that game with Tulane dealing with all that stuff with the hurricane?
Well, it was hot. I'll tell you that. It was about 105 degrees out in the field. But listen, it was a heck of a football game. Willie Fritz and that Tulane ball club, they were well prepared. They were focused. It didn't matter that they were displaced and had their entire operation moved to Birmingham. They were ready to play, and consequently, Oklahoma was not. Oklahoma got outcoached. They got outplayed at a time when it looked like Oklahoma was going to start to run away with it, which they should with their talent level. Tulane just kept fighting and scrapping and crawling back into the thing, and they weren't going away, and they deserve a lot of credit. And quite frankly, on that day, Tulane quarterback Michael Pratt outplayed Spencer Rattler from Oklahoma. And so Oklahoma very fortunate to get out of that one, get themselves refocused. And, listen, in week one, we saw an awful lot of upsets. The Pac-12, the ACC, we saw them all across the land. Fortunately for Oklahoma, they were able to pull it out.
Exactly. Well, this week when you're going down to Knoxville, Tennessee, and Pittsburgh hasn't played since 1983, and I was doing some research because I'm doing my show tonight. I think the Riff Mix was the number one song, and when that first year, September 3rd, 1983, and also I'm a big baseball fan. The Mets were in the last place in that day on September 3rd, so in 1983 with Darryl Strawberry. So it's pretty funny. This game, they haven't played each other since 1983.
Yeah, it's kind of cool too. Jackie Sherrill's going to be an honorary captain, which I think is really neat. And, Jackie and Johnny Majors go all the way back to the Iowa State days. And guys like Jimmy Johnson were on that staff. Joe Avezzano was on that staff. There's a lot of good football coaches that went on to have very prolific careers. And, I look at this matchup and, you're in Knoxville. Neyland Stadium's going to be rocking. They turned out last Thursday to see what the new look Vols are going to be, at least early on. I know it wasn't much of a contest with Bowling Green, but Pitt's coming to town. They've got the better team, but they also got a lot of pressure on their shoulders based off of what happened in the ACC last week with Miami going down, North Carolina going down to Virginia Tech. Pitt's got an opportunity here to go on the road and make a statement and gain some ground in the ACC Coastal.
And Kenny Pickett's quarterbacking for Pitt, and I feel like he's been around for like 5 years. He's been there ever since. I've been doing a lot of stuff here, so it's like he's like, I think he's the only quarterback. He's focused, and I think he's ready to go.
He is ready to go, and he's ultra experienced. They've got weapons all around him, and it's kind of his team now, and he has to make them better. He has to make the play when it needs to be made. He arrived on campus over 1,800 days ago. It feels like he's been there for 10 years, and now he's got one last opportunity, decided not to enter the NFL draft, felt there was unfinished business. You look at this Pitt team, they've got an awful lot of experience coming back across the board. I mentioned the weapons on offense, and then defensively, they can rush the passer, and the linebacking group is really deep and really talented. And, for me, this is going to be as much about, Pitt handling the environment as it is just going out and executing, because it's going to be loud. It's going to be deafening, probably be pretty warm with noon kickoff. And again, a lot's riding on the shoulders for Pitt because they're carrying some of the weight of the conference off of an embarrassing week one.
Right, exactly. And I feel like they could take advantage in that Coastal Division, because if they win, a couple more games in North Carolina, like they went down against Virginia Tech, I feel like Pitt might be in Charlotte again. But behind the door, you got hello Clemson. It's almost like one of those Jeopardy things. Like, see behind door number one, you want Clemson or do you want somebody else? Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of work to be done with all teams across college football. And I think, and you'll hear coaches say it each and every year, you're going to make significant progress from week one to week two. Everybody has kinks that they've got to iron out. Some teams showed up more prepared than others. Georgia Tech loses to Northern Illinois. Washington loses to Montana. Vanderbilt loses to East Tennessee State. There were just teams that weren't focused and prepared to play. And there were other teams like an Alabama, that looked really, really good, like an Ole Miss, looked really sharp versus Louisville. And so getting off to a hot start's important, but I don't think we should make too many rash judgments off of 3.5 hours of week 1 and apply it to the next 13 weeks because teams are going to improve.
Exactly. Like,
If tomorrow all the things were gone I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA. Well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Leaving on Saturday. With your dad being in the NFL, did you learn a lot of things about him, growing up as a young kid, growing up with a kid in the locker room and, all that stuff? What did you learn from your father?
I learned a lot. I mean, he really taught me the game of football growing up. I always wanted to play because of him. He was my main reason of putting on the pads. So he taught me a lot of knowledge of the game and just never giving up, always trying to win to be first. Film study when I got the age to actually know what film was, and being able to watch it with him, break down certain defenses, disguises, and everything. So, just him bringing me along, even to the facility and practice fields, just letting me soak up the knowledge from other players was a lot to me. Yeah, it really done a lot.
Fire away.
All right. There we go. Good morning, everybody. And we have Bob Lippman, who is the voice of the New Hampshire Wildcats. They are having their home opener in front of fans for the first time in so long. this weekend against Towson University. So, Bob, thanks for joining us. A big win last week down there on Long Island. It was a nail biter at the end. You guys only won 27-21. So, what happened there in the third and fourth quarter? It looked like the defense kind of got a little tired.
Yeah, well, the offense turned the ball over 3 times in the second half after taking advantage of 3 Stony Brook turnovers in the first half. So I think that certainly is what tipped the game and gave Stony Brook a chance there to win it at the end of the game. Not so much problems on our defensive side. I just think we gave them good field position and good momentum, and those are things that we're going to have to correct, of course, to win a game against Towson. And look, you know all about CAA football, and these games are not often blowouts, especially when you're at another team's stadium. Final score may say 27-21. Doesn't matter how UNH did it. Coach Mack is happy.
Yeah, that's true. It's going to be one of those another classic CAA games. And plus, the quarterback from Towson used to be the quarterback at Maine. So it's pretty funny. You guys are going to see Chris Ferguson again for the first time since, a couple of years ago?
Yeah, he's a good one, too. There's no question that he can make plays all over the field. And it is, again, one of those games where we'll see if the UNH defense, which I think is among the elite in the league, can slow down one of the better quarterbacks in the league. Certainly a guy who could not have more experience, right? 3 years at Maine, a year at Liberty, and now playing for Rob Ambrose.
Yeah, it's just this transfer portal thing is pretty interesting. You go from team to team. It seems like they're playing baseball. You can be traded to different teams. It's like because I saw him last year with Liberty, and then also I saw him he's playing with House. I'm like, okay, I guess you got one more year. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
and that I think is what the NCAA really wanted to do, was to not deprive these athletes that opportunity to have a real true football career. They didn't penalize anybody because of the pandemic. Everybody gets the extra year, and so guys like Ferguson are taking advantage of that.
Yeah. So this weekend with the weather, 6:00 kickoff. What's the weather like up there? Because I know this time of year it's very nice. That's why they play the games earlier in September instead of in middle of November and December, right?
Now we should have a gorgeous evening here. The opportunity, as you pointed out, to bring fans back into Wildcat Stadium. The students are excited. The community is excited. The team is excited, and you try to turn that into a home field advantage, which, UNH traditionally has pretty good advantage because teams have to travel all this way to get up here. But should be a lot of fun. And again, weather will not be a factor on Saturday night. And you're right, we don't play night games late in the season unless you're in the playoffs and they tell you that you're going to play at night.
Right, exactly. And this is also Coach Mack's first game back in the stadium since he came back from his health situation. He took 2019 off.
Yeah, we did have the one game here with Albany in the spring of this year. So Coach Mack did coach that game, but he's doing great. And you're right, we missed Coach Mack in 2019, but he still is such an important part. I mean, this is his program, and make no mistake about the fact that he's going to get this club fired up to ready to play on Saturday.
Exactly. Let's just talk about the whole entire CAA for a minute here. You got Richmond's pretty good. You got JMU, who last week put 65 points up on their opponent. That's like I was looking at that later in the evening, like 65-10. I was like that game should have been called off at halftime. I don't know why I keep or a running clock, but just talk about this league. Seems like everybody is very good. It was like, Brian Kelly's like, oh, Travis is great and all that, but he had no answer for Milton. So I think Florida State has a secret weapon there.
Well, the most important thing that I saw from Florida State is those teams the last 5 years, if they would have gotten down 38-20, they would have folded their lawn chair and gone home.
Right.
And this team didn't do that. That's an encouraging sign. Now, there are no moral victories. Mike Norvell knows that. But his team fought. They scrapped. They hung in there. They believed. They didn't look at the scoreboard. They just kept playing. Now, I think it's fairly evident that Mike Norvell probably made the wrong choice quarterback-wise. It's very clear that Mackenzie Milton brings something to this roster, to this locker room, to this huddle that maybe he's lacking with Jordan Travis. I think Jordan Travis is a good athlete, but I don't think he's the player that Mackenzie Milton is. So there were a lot of encouraging factors coming away from that game. You're unranked, you're playing the 9th-ranked team, you get a great crowd, and you hang in there. And again, no moral victories, but certainly a significant improvement over what we've seen from Florida State teams here the last 3, 4, 5 years that just seem disinterested when things don't go their way.
Yeah. What do you think about Miami? Because I feel like Miami completely against Auburn, against Alabama. I know Alabama's Alabama. Everybody knows that. It's like, you don't want to poke a bear and, they'll figure it out. But do you feel like Miami, like Diaz, do you think Diaz might not be around the rest of the year? Or do you feel like he's going to be, turning this thing around and everything's going to be better?
Well, I certainly think he's going to be coaching this Miami Hurricane team this year. For whatever reason, and it happened last year versus Clemson, it happened again this past Saturday, they really struggled to get up for big games. They seem to get so caught up in the hype and the expectation and is Miami back and all of this sort of thing, and they get enamored with the magnitude of the game and maybe the opponent on the other sideline instead of focusing on their own business. Right. And I'll tell you another thing too. Get rid of this turnover chain thing. Quit worrying about all of this swag and all this stuff that doesn't matter and start playing good. Who cares about it? It's a distraction now. It's becoming something that I know the kids like it and this and that, but how about worrying about stopping somebody on 3rd down? How about scoring in the red zone? How about sustaining a drive? Because all of those things matter. The turnover chain doesn't matter. The turnover does. But all of the things that come with the chain are just a distraction from what you're trying to do on the next play. So, I'd like to see Miami get a little bit more refocused from that perspective. And again, Clemson and Miami ran into buzzsaws in week 1, unlike anybody else in college football. So they're going to improve. They're going to get better. But Miami has got to learn how to show up and play well in big games. Yeah.
Well, one last question to ask you. You're upset this week in college football. What do you see? Who's going to be like that one upset that everybody's going to go, oh, my God, you see that this weekend?
Well, I could be going way out on a limb here, but what if Washington recovers, goes on the road, beats Michigan in the Big House? I wouldn't be surprised if Washington ends up going with the true freshman and Sam Heward at quarterback. I don't think Dylan Morris is the long-term answer for them. You can't turn the ball over the way he does. I don't care if it's against an FCS opponent or if it's against Oregon.
Right.
You're going to struggle to win the football game. So maybe we get a woken up, angry Washington team on the road, and we catch a Michigan team taking Washington lightly because of what happened in week 1.
Yeah. Well, that's why they play the games, and it's why you and I sit and watch and go to games and analyze and, and enjoy doing it, right?
You got it, man. That's what makes getting back out on the road so much more fun this fall.
Yeah, I hope to get back on the road this weekend. So, well, thank you so much for taking some. I'd like to see that Batman behind it. That's pretty cool. I like that figure back there. My brother used to catch them. My brother used to collect all that stuff. So it's pretty cool.
There you go, man. I appreciate it. All right, man. Right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
All right.
All right. Let me. All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our interview with Mike Paris, who's the voice of the Jacksonville State Gamecocks, who seems like every year Florida State plays this team every year after a major game. I looked at the schedule last year, and Florida State played against you guys. It was the first game of the year for you guys because of COVID-19. So it's pretty interesting. I think you want to go get real estate in Mike down in Tallahassee, right?
Yeah, I tell you what, between back-to-back football, and then we were down there a couple of times in NCAA softball regionals as well. Feel like I'm paying taxes in the state of Florida now, man. This is our 3rd trip overall in football. So after watching them Sunday night, though, this year is a little different than the team a year ago, I think. So,
yeah,
it'll be a tough assignment come Saturday night.
Yeah, you guys were shut out on Wednesday night last week. I was doing my program and I was watching you guys. What was it like playing in that first game of the season for everybody?
Well, obviously it wasn't too good for us. Bill Clark, former head coach of ours, hit men at UAB, and And he's had some terrific defenses. They were top 10 in the country last year, and I realize they're a group of five and not a power five, but pretty stout up front. Their front seven is outstanding. They've got good corners as well, and it was just we had a tough time, obviously, as you saw, trying to block them and just generate any kind of an offense. And I think our coaches felt like we would have a tough time trying to throw the ball downfield. So it was a lot of short stuff and underneath stuff, and we just didn't get anything going. Honestly, thought defensively, for the most part, we played pretty good. You know, it's 7-0 late in the half. Mm-hmm. They block a punt, and we hold them to a field goal there. So it's 10-0 at halftime, and even though we hadn't accomplished much on offense at that time, you know, defensively I thought we played pretty good, but we had some busted assignments, busted coverage in the second half, and they had guys running wide open, and it turned out to be just a long night. What it turned out to be, first time we'd been shut out since the final game of the 2012 season, as a matter of fact. That was in Gainesville, at Florida, when the Gators beat us 23-0 down there. So hopefully we play better, against Florida State.
Yeah. This time last year, you guys played Florida. This time last year, but I think it was like October. You took Florida State to overtime, pretty much. I remember. It was like you guys were up 24-7.
We were up at the half and led into the third quarter, and then they rallied and beat us. We had a chance to if we'd have converted on a fourth down, and then we had another drive that stalled out inside the 25-yard line. If we'd got some points out of that, might have been a little bit tighter in the fourth quarter. 41-23, something like that was the final. So, but we played pretty good. Got a quick pick six there to start that game last year. And I tell you who hurt us was when they went to Jordan Travis. They started the freshman Rodemaker last year.
Oh, yeah.
And when they went to Travis, then that really turned things around because of the dual threat that he was. And he hurt us with his legs last year. And Corbin hurt us some as well. But it was really Travis. It turned around when he came in the game. And quite honestly, I thought they picked it up some on the defensive side of the football as well.
Right. Yeah, I think like I remember that quarterback at Florida State coming in, and I was watching the game, and I was like, oh God, because I'm a big Seminoles fan, and I'm sitting there going, this is terrible. And my brothers were texting me like, what in the world is going on with your team? I'm like, they're playing lousy. That's what's going on here. And my mom called me. She goes, do we need to put you on a suicide watch? I'm like, no, I don't, Mom. I'm okay. Because I was like, this thing is so, because I was like, I turned it off. I actually, at the time, took a nap in the third quarter because I fell asleep, and I woke up and I'm looking at the TV going, is that 27-24? I'm like, what the heck is going on around here? So I'm like, wow, I fell asleep. I thought first I was dreaming, So, that was a great game. I got to say, it was a great game.
Yeah, we played for the most part pretty well. And, we've had success in these games in FCS school playing against an FBS and a Power 5 in that matter.
Right.
We lost to Florida State. We were supposed to play the fall schedule. COVID turned everything upside down. So we ended up playing 4 in the fall. And then we had our spring schedule, and we played, 8 games in the spring then, won the Ohio Valley Conference title, and then got beat in the quarterfinal round of the FCS playoffs. And if we play the full slate this year, we'll play 23 games in a year's time is basically what it's going to be, which is going to be tough. But that game last year, I think, gave our guys some confidence. 41-24 was the final. And then that was the only one we lost in October. We won, beat North Alabama and Mercer in FCS games. And then our final game in the fall a year ago, we went down to Miami, beat FIU at their place, and got a win over an FBS program out of Conference USA, of which UAB is a member. So, but watching Florida State, I think probably Travis, obviously a year's experience there. He was better. Mackenzie Milton adds another element, assuming he plays, and I think he probably will see some action against us. And I thought defensively, though, Jermaine Johnson obviously is a huge addition for them up front. Thomas is a guy that transferred in. They've got, 2 South Carolina transfers, and Mississippi State transfers, so they've added some guys. And to me, they just looked very quick,
different.
very fast on defense.
Yeah.
That to me, that was the difference. It looked like they had more guys on defense, at least against Notre Dame they had the other night. And then the stadium was rocking pretty good, obviously, at Doak Campbell on Sunday night. Who knows? They kick that field goal in overtime and put a little pressure on Notre Dame. Maybe they win that one or get them in second or third overtime or whatever.
Right. Yeah.